What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing a fun video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 least reliable pistols that we've ever had. The way we're going to rank these is we're going to rank these based on the amount of malfunction they've had in the actual videos we've done, not only from the first shots, but from the 1,000 round reviews, prior testing, things like that. But I'm also going to take into account the history of reliability over the course of the firearm's life, not only in my hands, but other people's hands that I know, and some other testing that I've seen. So we're going to be talking about guns that just malfunction an awful lot. We're going to be talking about some guns that you should probably stay away from and hopefully don't depend on to defend your own life. So we're going to be mixing these up a little bit. There'll be a few different ones in here, and there'll be some controversial ones as well. So the comment section of this video should be interesting. Before we get into the video, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you very much. We try to make the most honest gun content on the internet, and because of that, the industry doesn't always love us, so we make videos for you guys. And if you want to support us, that's the best way to do it. Just go to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It's a youth shelter. Those kids could really use your help. So if you click that link, it'll bring you right to the donate page, and you can give those kids a few bucks, and we can all feel good about it. So out of all the guns that we've shot on the channel, these are some of my least favorite. These are some of the guns that I wouldn't count on even if you paid me. We're going to get right into number 10 here. Number 10 is probably going to be the most reliable gun on the list because that's how lists work. That'll happen. I was gonna say it was gonna work well, but it's like, nah, fuck you. The HiPoint in general. I was gonna put the HiPoint 380, but I'm gonna throw the HiPoint 9 into the bus as well. It's a big bus and there's lots of room. So we're going to talk about the HiPoint kind of as a whole. It's a blowback operated, incredibly cheap gun made with probably the most cheap parts and manufacturing that you can find out there. It's a blowback operated gun, so not only is it questionably reliable, but it also has a pretty significant recoil impulse, considering they're either 9 or a 380. It's a pretty terrible trigger and it's pretty inaccurate. But the reality is these guns come for somewhere between $100 and $200. So the reason why this is at number 10 is because you should probably already know they're not going to work well if you buy a gun for $100. We actually got one for what, like 125 bucks? The HiPoint 380, I think it's one of the cheapest handguns in the world. We got it, and it did have quite a few malfunctions. Now, I'll probably give it a little bit of a pass since, again, it's at number 10 because it's so cheap. But the reality is it failed like every 20 rounds or so, and it wasn't a very awesome experience to shoot. And if you consider there are guns that, like the Taurus G3 series and stuff, that are a little bit better, I would go that route instead of the HiPoint. I like the idea of the HiPoint because I like to arm people that need to be armed. I also like the fact that it's made in America. I think they're made in Cleveland. I've even met the HiPoint guys and they're pretty cool, but the reality is when a gun sucks, it kind of sucks. In at number 9 is going to be another controversial pick. We're going to be talking about a lot of people's favorite gun. Huh? It's a SIG after all. We're going to be talking about the Sig 320. Oh man, I can hear it now. But the reality is we've had somewhere between 6 and 10 320s on the channel, and it's a very popular design. They have a lot of different types, and all of them have had some sort of malfunction. The Sig 320 is what I would consider the most popular gun that is unreliable. The M17, M18 have been adopted by the US military and have been fraught with controversy. They also have had issues mechanically, discharging, maybe not. That's up to people investigating the thing. But what we're concerned about is going to be the reliability of the guns as a whole. The pros of the 320 are that it has the fire control unit. It's very modular. It has a lot of fun things about it. But compared to the other titans of the firearms industry, like the M&P, the Glock, and so on, it's just less reliable than those pistols are. And that, for me, is just a fact, considering I've had about 10 of them, and all of them have the occasional bobble. Now, whether that be magazine related, whether that be finicky on ammo, whether that be that they have a slide mast that's akin to a bus reciprocating on top of the gun, I'm not sure what goes on. Maybe the heavy slide doesn't allow some lighter Walmart style ammunition like Winchester White Box to actually function correctly, but I've seen military testing where they had their share of malfunctions even with the very hottest of ammunitions. We even had a Wilson Combat version of the 320, and not even Wilson Combat can iron out the issues on the 320 series. Even though it's popular, even though a lot of people love it, as far as like the big go-to guns, it's the least reliable. Now we got the two controversial ones out of the way. Let's get into some real shit boxes. Let's start off with the Taurus 608. Now the Taurus 608 is the only revolver to make the list, and damn it is it tough to make an unreliable revolver, but Taurus really stepped up to the plate and delivered here. The Taurus 608 was a cool gun when I bought it until I shot it. It's a 6-inch barreled, I think it comes in a couple different variants, but mine was a 6-inch barreled, 8-shot 357 Magnum, double single action revolver. That's pretty cool in theory. It also was ported out of the factory and it came out for about 600 bucks, which should have been a clue for me that I should have went Smith & Wesson. It had a malfunction about every cylinder, had tons of timing issues. It was one of the most difficult guns I've ever had to shoot, and it had non-stop malfunctions. Now, for a revolver, revolvers are traditionally pretty reliable because there's not a lot that can go wrong as long as you keep them clean, but this gun was an absolute disaster. We had light primer strikes, and I think a lot of that has to do with poor manufacturing quality and just not really giving a shit about your end product. So if you want an unreliable revolver, check out the Taurus 608. In at number 7, we have kind of a cheat, but I wanted to throw it on here anyway, the Angstadt Arms MDP9. Now this is a 9mm pistol, and it uses Glock magazines. It's one of the most anticipated guns of last year. I've been waiting for it for quite a few years. The reason why is it uses a roller delayed system, and it not only does it do that, but it has AR-15 style control. So it's like taking the MP5, which is probably the best system used for PCCs, the most reliable, the most time tested, the most sought after because of its low recoil and reliability, and you put it in an AR-15 system, making it more ergonomics. You don't have to worry about the bad trigger, the weird safety, and the things like that. You also get a lockback on the magazines, if you can get through a magazine, and you get a lot of other features as well. What you also get with the MDP9 is you get to pay essentially $3,000 to have a shit show happen to you of malfunctions. The MDP9 is actually so bad that it is currently being a paperweight in my house because even after we got it fixed, no one will buy it from me. In at number 6, we got another controversial one, but I think it's pretty obvious if you've seen any videos on it. Oh, I didn't even see that. I was too busy getting eaten. Cool. We have the Springfield Prodigy, another super sought after gun of 2022, and another epic failure in my personal opinion. Man, people want 2011s, and I'll tell you why. 2011 is probably the most shootable platform in the world. It has one of the best triggers, very low recoil, and just phenomenal to shoot as long as it works. The Springfield Prodigy was a great idea. A big company bringing a 2011 to market that people can afford at around the $1,500 price point. The downside of the Springfield Prodigy is that it was very unreliable. As a matter of fact, I had about 20-some reliability issues during the 1,000-round process, and mine was one of the more reliable ones on the internet. I saw tons of people that had issues with it. I talked to other reviewers who had issues with it, and I've actually met people just in the street that told me they've had issues with it. And that is even forgivable if you couldn't get other guns in that price point, but the Bull Armory comes in around that price point and they function pretty well. And then if you go up $500, you can get into a Staccato, which is stone cold reliable. So if you're looking for a 9mm 2011, you want that speed, you want that accuracy, I would check out Staccato. If you're looking for a malfunction clearance drill wrapped up in a $1,500 package, check out the Springfield Prodigy. In at number 5, we have a very cool, unique, and crapshoot of a gun. We're going to be talking about the Fightlight Raider. Now, the Fightlight Raider looks like some shit that a space pirate would use to invade the moon, and that's one of the things that I really liked about it. A semi-automatic AR style design. It has a Raptor grip, and like I said, it looks very cool. However, we had a lot of issues with this gun.
Okay.
Same problem over and over again, failure to extract. As I kind of expected, based on the fact that it's a very unique design that uses a bolt with a little like rat tail on the end that slides inside the Raptor grip. It's a system that the AR wasn't designed for, and because of that, I think that causes some issues. The other issue probably has to do with R&D, manufacturing quality, stuff like that, but I think a lot of it is the fact that they put a 7-inch barrel in a DI system, and it just simply doesn't have the dwell time in order to work correctly, like a lot of the other ARs that are below 10.5 inches. So it is what it is. It's a very cool looking gun, and I wish it worked great because I had a lot of fun shooting it, but the reality is it was super unreliable. In at number 4, we have one of the greatest hits. We're going to be talking about the Kahr CW 380. Now, if I would have said that on this video 20 years ago, the Kahr guys would have literally come out of the woodwork, rose up, and slain me. But the reality is, the Kahr guys are pretty much gone, and the reason why is because what I was saying about the gun 7 years ago in my video holds true today. That gun sucks. I don't give passes on guns that were designed for self-defense. Above all else, all their features, it doesn't really matter what they are as long as the gun works. And this gun didn't work. Not only did it not work, but it not worked a lot. This gun had light primer strikes, failure to feed, and other common irritating malfunctions that could be cleared but also takes a lot of time. If you consider the limited magazine capacity, it's also a bit of an issue when you're consistently clearing malfunctions and you only have 7 to 10 rounds to play with in the first place. The Kahr CW 380 goes down in history as one of my least favorite pistols to shoot, but it also happens to be one of the least reliable guns we've had on the channel, which is why it keeps coming back from the dead again and again, like George Romero designed it. In at number 3, we have the shittiest and also the cheapest gun in the gun store, the SCCY, the Sky. The Sky is a $200 double action only pistol, which I purchased because we wanted to do a video on the cheapest gun in the gun store. I kind of knew what I was getting into when I got it, since the people warned me about even buying it when I was buying it. I actually got it at my local Shields. Thanks for trying to warn me, Austin, but it is what it is. We went for it anyway. The CPX-2 comes in 9mm, maybe other calibers, I'm unsure, and I don't care. It has a 3-inch barrel, a double action design, and it is a polymer frame pistol. It is lightweight, cheap, and the grip actually has some pretty good ergonomics, but everything else is trash. Tons of malfunctions, double feeds, light primer strikes, failure to extract with all types of ammunition. Not only that, but the gun also is relatively known for this, and if you look in that video of the first shots we did on that, you will see hundreds of people commenting the exact same issues. Along with that, I've talked to a lot of people in person who've had the same issues as well, and on top of that, I've seen lots of videos where people have had those issues, so I don't think it's exclusively to me. I think the Sky just really sucks. I would recommend, if you're going to spend the $200 to $300 price point, I would honestly look at maybe a HiPoint because it is more reliable than the Sky, or I would check out the Taurus G series again, or even step it up a notch to a Canic, which you would absolutely love by comparison to this thing. In at number 2, we have the always popular Remington RP9. Sorry, I can't even say the Remington RP9 without laughing. Oh my god. That used to be, at least for a long time, the least reliable gun on my channel. It just recently got topped, but the Remington RP9 held the crown for a long time. The Remington RP9 is a striker-fired polymer frame pistol introduced by the always quality Remington group at their feeble attempt to make a 9mm pistol, and it failed, obviously. And the reason for that is a lot of reasons. It's unreliable, first off, but it also has really bad ergonomics. The trigger slaps you every time you shoot it, and it just looks like shit as well. But the shooting experience aside, the reliability was one of the worst we'd ever seen. Yeah, there's clip upon clip on my channel of me just shooting this gun one round and racking it out and restarting the whole process over again. It's actually a gun that you can really use for a consistent malfunction clearing practice if you want to, because it barely gets through 2 or 3 rounds without malfunctioning. I think the Remington RP9, well, at least I used to think the Remington RP9 was the worst gun that you could buy on the market today, but sadly, it's not.
It already malfunctioned.
Yes, it did. Well, that didn't take very long. In at number 1, we have the Taurus PT22. The Taurus PT22 is not only unreliable in practice, but it's unreliable in every standard that you could measure. It fell apart multiple times while we were shooting it. The magazine fell apart. The barrel system flew out of the gun while we were reloading it. And on top of that, it had a whole lot of double feeds, light primer strikes, and everything you could imagine. If you want to watch a real comedy routine, you can feel free to check out the first shots of that gun. But the Taurus PT22 is hilariously bad. It is a very tiny carry pistol that looks a lot like the Noisy Cricket that uses 22 long rifle cartridges. the gun itself has a tip-out barrel, which is copied from like the Beretta Tomcat, which was initially introduced to allow people of smaller stature, older people, people with arthritis, to be able to get around in the chamber without having to rack a heavy slide. So they have a tip-out system that you can put the round in and put it in, and then you have a magazine as well. So it's like loading a breech action gun and then putting a mag in the bottom of it. The problem I have with that system is that not only is it not easier than something like the EZ system or the light rack system from Ruger, but it introduces a lot of other issues like the gun falling apart, for example. So if you use that type of system that is kind of tough to use on even the Beretta series, and then you introduce a bunch of like MIM'd, super low quality melted beer can style parts in it, what you're gonna get is not only parts breakages, but you're gonna get malfunctions that you don't even know how to clear. Like you might need an engineering degree to try to figure out how to fix this gun. Out of all the guns I've ever tested, that's the gun I would want to carry the least. And I've shot the Outlaw. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please stop by your local homeless shelters and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.